Okay. Interesting, dude. Cool. So how, I feel like I should know this. Are you 20 or 21?
I'm 20.
You're 20? Okay. Interesting. Because you're a junior at Temple.
Mm-hmm.
When do you retire the fake ID?
Fun fact, I actually don't have a fake ID.
Really?
Yeah, never thought about getting.
Good for you, dude.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of stress I could have avoided because it got to the point where my junior year I didn't even use it because I was so tired of even risking it. I was like, I don't get the same thrill. Like,
Yeah,
this is just kind of, if I get rejected, my whole night's over. Like,
yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Temple's a house party school, and I've never really been one for the bar scene. More, nightlife, and of course, that's what's on right now.
Yeah. Okay. So let me adjust my notes because I wrote 21-year-old. Okay. Cool.
Not quite yet. Birthday's in April.
Yeah. Yeah. So right now, I'm curious about these last couple events, and we'll get into more detail when, like I said, the structured part will probably get going in like 5 minutes. But that last event you did seemed seemed big. Like, was that one of the bigger ones you've done, or is that kind of just when people ask you to kind of do the content creation behind it and getting the photography, or like obviously describe exactly what you did, but was that like one of the bigger ones you've had to do? Because it looked insane.
Yeah, for sure. The one where I was at JMU or just another nightlife?
Armanti Bros, or who is it?
It was the Armantani Bros. Like, I went on tour with
Armantani Bros.
Yeah. Great guys, like my best friends now. I feel like family. Felt like I know them my entire life. But I felt like going to Virginia with them to JMU was one of like the biggest things I've ever done. Cool. Like, I love.
When was that?
It was around like 2 weekends ago. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that was a good time. And then Philly Welcome Week was the other night at the Ave, and that was cool as well. But yeah, definitely some of the bigger events that I've ever done, for sure.
That's sick. Okay. I was testing the audio again. Okay. All right, cool. So now I kind of feel like I have a pretty good grip. I did my homework. I would say it's very like, it's a kind of a thing where I just like to, I have base topics that I do, and it's, if we get to them, we get to them. They're more there, so we don't go off on like random tangents because it's very like, as you know. And then I kind of do a pre-recorded intro, so that's why this first stuff's going to be used and the mid stuff's kind of going to be used and whatever. But anyway, Evan Senior, welcome on, dude. I'm so happy you're the one leading off this podcast, because a big thing I try to push is if you kind of want to connect with people, you have to be willing to reach out, and you have to be willing to just kind of like you said, interact with them. Like, people act like people are going to come to them, and you really like, the DM like stood out to me, appreciating what I was doing. Cause like I was in a place where I was creating stuff, but I didn't really know where I was kind of going with it. And that part you were getting something out of it. And I was like, oh, this is cool. So then I was thinking, let's bring on the podcast. And all of a sudden, 21-year-old entrepreneur, Evan Senior, vlogger, creator, artist. He's been in the YouTube game pretty decent amount of time. When I was looking back, a couple years in the YouTube game, not an easy place to be. And, he's probably one of the better editors I've seen out. And I want to make a point of that off the bat, because these vlogs we put together, I'm jealous. I'm like, we have a similar lives kind of going on. I'm like, God, that looks fucking sick. But anyway, Evan, so happy you're here. What's up, man? Yeah, just kind of, if you want to lead off with that, starting off, where are you from, and kind of how did you get started in doing what you're doing now?
Yeah, no, Jack, I appreciate you having me on. This is awesome. So I'm Evan Senior. I'm from Temple University in North Philly, Pennsylvania. And yeah, I'm a content creator and YouTuber. Been in the YouTube game for around a year and a half now, with the whole intent of documenting my life, the ups, the downs, and looking back on it in the future and just reflecting. And yes, this is what I'm very passionate about. I know we talked earlier. Looked in the mirror. Yeah, this is who you are. You're a content creator. You're an entrepreneur. It's always been who you are. I always see entrepreneurship as how I see life. Everybody's trying to survive, and the skills and values you learn from entrepreneurship you can use in the business world to survive. So that's why entrepreneurship is really my main passion. But yeah, content creation is who I am. Love editing and love documenting.
Love editing. That's gonna be a very high value skill. I keep telling everyone who wants to, like, they're always like, "Oh, can we intern? Can we do something? Like, how can I get involved?" Like, bro, if you can become a video editor, that's the one part where I just love the marketing side so much that, like, having a fire video editor is just amazing. But I've had to learn it on and off. But cool, man. So I kind of want to start with just some like loose ended questions. Like you said, you're a current content creator. You know, like who are your favorite current creators right now and why?
Ooh, I love
Yeah.
any lifestyle vlogger. So that just popped in my head is Jack Bratzett. He's
Okay.
from Cali, a good friend of mine over the internet, but the way he records his vlogs and documents life, he's very reflective in the way he edits, kind of like me as well. So definitely Jack Bratzett. I love Arlen Moore's vlogs. I've always been a Justin
Sweet.
Alona fan and how he did, daily docs in college. So a lot
Yeah.
of his B-roll and cinematics is kind of what I use in mine. So
Mhm.
definitely Justin, Arlen, and Jack are some of my favorite vloggers right now. And of course, this is one criminally underrated vlogger and honestly film director, but Bobby Misner. So all his vlogs,
Bobby Misner.
yeah,
Okay.
definitely check him out. The way he records his vlogs too. It's catching
Nice.
to the eye. Constant scenes, changing B-roll, cinematics. So I love Bobby as well for sure.
Interesting. Uh, I'm glad you mentioned Arlen because I first want to make a point. I am going to come down like 3 years from now and owe this guy a lot of credit because when I was put on to Arlen by a good friend of mine, I have been following Iman Godzi since I was 17. He's always kept the SMMA idea in my head, even though I was doing other things. And now that I turned 21 and I see the lifestyle and I see the social media game and I see the impact I can have on it, I've really taken it seriously. Arlen got my mentals right for that in the sense of everything he kind of said I was doing, but he confirmed it. And we have very similar, how we look at women and how we look at we had very similar perspectives. And my friend who put me on probably knows me the best. So shout out Olivia, you're a goat for that. And that's really cool because then you kind of found me and everyone I talk to that also listens to these types of guys, very similar people. So it's like cool. Like it's a unique community because it's not like they have millions of subscribers. They're hundreds of thousands, right? Iman has 150,000. I don't want to butcher it on Instagram. It's nothing crazy, right? But the community behind it is so like these 1% thinkers, in my opinion. And it's very cool because if you stick with it, I think the results are there. I'm curious, do you have any experiences doing courses?
Yeah, I'm actually in Arlen's Tribe Accelerator course.
I'm so I knew it. Okay. I'm glad we're having this conversation. Perfect.
Yeah, I love it. And I joined back in May.
Cool.
And we got
Started back in May?
Yeah.
Okay.
We got an interview for it. But you see my digital journal. My life's changed dramatically since then, for sure. Positively.
Yeah. So cool. And how long have you been listening to Arlen? And we'll move off the topic soon. But I think if you haven't started following him, go like and subscribe to Arlen because as you can see, he's provided a lot of value to both of us who are both very early in our journeys, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely since the personal development journey started. Watched his vlogs and everything he was creating about personal development and just mindset design. So around since January for sure.
Okay. So yeah, interesting. Now here's another kind of just off-key question. You said you're an entrepreneur earlier. I've seen that. What's a cool idea you think someone else should invent?
Wow, that's a great question. A great idea somebody else should invent.
You would do it, but you don't have it's not your thing. Like you think it would benefit the world. I don't know.
Ooh. Honestly, I feel like the course game is super strong, especially because of the community and the network it provides. So definitely there's a lot of courses and communities like it, but ones that help you break out of the matrix for sure. I know I have some experience with doing that, but not years and years of experience, but building a community of entrepreneurs and like-minded individuals who are all breaking out of the matrix collectively and crushing it in business. I feel like that would be a very strong idea for somebody to go for.
Yeah, and that's cool. And I think the beauty of what we're the kind of the world we live in now is people are doing that on a smaller scale, right? Like it's collectively creating into that, and it's a good time for it because like anything,
Right.
you know, you never know when the next thing's coming, but these things keep people learning, and when people learn, they grow. So nobody's like once you're in it, you're kind of addicted to it, and you're really like. So I agree. And the more courses, the more options. You know, somebody may trust me, but not, you know, necessarily know you, but we're on a similar plane. So if I connect them with you, they're like, oh, okay. Like, and it exponentially grows that way because you got to meet one person, and then it's like, and we're gonna get into networking later. I've already got that on there.
Yeah.
So yeah, what was your first taste of entrepreneurship? So, would you say like any? I guess even stories about like early business ideas, or has it always kind of been content creation and now you're just starting to put the structure to it and really, you know, kind of go with it?
Yeah, for sure. My buddy and I started our brand University Recap really around a year ago, where we just, you know, mic'd up college kids at parties and did college photography, college party photography, and, you know, did it all for free right now, and got a good Instagram out of it, built a good community, did our first clothing drop. And just the other night I was talking with my friend about it. He's like, so like, what's next? You know, like I have the shirt on my lap because it was the final shirt that I gave away. He said, oh, like what's next? I'm like, continue with what we're doing. I know the camera's going to be out this weekend. And just start monetizing it, you know, find new ways to expand the brand, to build a community out of it, get people involved, and start spreading to different colleges in Philly. The next thing you know, reaching out to different colleges across the country and individuals who do the same things that we do, like party photography, and just build this nationwide brand that documents college lifestyle, whether that be, you know, a 21st birthday party, a frat event, sorority event, anything around campus. So really expanding the brand and continuing to do what we do with University Recap, because that is our baby at the end of the day.
Right. And I don't know how much you've looked into, you know, what I'm doing at PLUGtalk. It's a very similar thing. It's really how PLUGtalk like started. Like that intro video is like my favorite, and shout out Jared in Innovation and Digital Media. That's my roommate. But he put together that intro video, and it was just like clips from our freshman and sophomore year. We were just doing cool shit, and then we would talk on the podcast kind of about that. And now, you know, I spent a lot of time like building the groundwork, and it's very similar. So I'm glad. And you say you come to Miami a little bit, so we'll have some talks because I'm day by day, you know, connecting myself more into that scene because I take a real networking approach to it. And a lot of my partners and other people I'm working with, you know, they come to me like it's kind of like a business first thing for me, but I love it. And I started to do free photo shoots just because why not for DJs? So much fun, dude. All the followers, like you connect with people. Like, I guess while we're right there, yeah. What are some tips for networking? Because I'm glad you mentioned that you guys this was an idea to, you know, it's just so similar to what I've been building and what I've been doing. So I'm glad you said it, and my audience will resonate a lot. But yeah, what are some tips kind of for networking? Were you doing anything? Yeah, just kind of get into that. Yeah.
Taking so much action, it overwhelms the fearful mind. That's what the summer looks like. I mean, I would go to artist shows that I was, you know, invite only artist shows, and I'd be going alone, you know. I live in Philly alone this summer and just did things by myself, you know, went to these artist shows by myself, networked by myself, did things that I normally wouldn't do around a year ago. I'm not a man of great fear, but the one fear I say I do have is fear of the unknown, you know, not knowing what's going to happen. So just attacking that fear this summer and doing things by myself. That's really the best way you can network yourself because, you know, like a personal brand, a digital brand, it is your business. Who you are is a business, especially in the entrepreneur game. So being confident in yourself and going to all these events and taking so much action on talking to people, networking with people, that really overwhelms your fearful mind. That's the best advice I can give for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we were, again, me and my roommate Jared just talking about this the other day. Like when you just do this, like you set out to do stuff and then you just do it and you keep taking action, it's never as bad as you think. Like
Hmm.
it's never actually that bad. The worst part is not doing it, then dreading it, then if you missed it. Like my thing is like if I miss a meeting because I'm like, tired or just how college is, like just it happens. You're like, just and you don't really feel like you have to be there. The negative residual is so much more because then they hit you up 3 days later, like, yo, did you miss the meeting? Like, it's just not whereas if I just show up, sometimes it's not even that bad. They just want it's more about did you show up? And that goes so far with people. Like I get compliments all the time in my production meetings about just texting people back. And again, back to Arlen, he said he responds to 99% of his DMs. He'd believe it. I've never hit up that guy and really not seen like a response from it. And I take it into my business now. I'm like, cool. These are the people I'm talking to. They're paying me to do a service. Let's get on that. So cool, man.
Right.
I think that's, you have a great take on that. And now let's get into what you think, just to kind of wrap up this entrepreneurship topic in a sense. What do you think the current state of entrepreneurship is?
Growing exponentially. The Great Awakening, information revolution, people are realizing that if they want to chase that business dream, that venture, that they can actually do it. And, you take action on that. So it's definitely growing. People are becoming aware of entrepreneurship. And I'm really excited for that because the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to see a huge growth of entrepreneurs in this world.
I think it's what's going to end up keeping everything together. And I think people think it's risky when I say that, but I want to make this, as I've made a point to make all my shows more direct. What people are less interested in what the government's trying to tell them to do and more interested in what they can create for themselves and how they can take their current position and not have less dependency on what else is happening and what's happening that doesn't directly, like affect them. I think there's more people because now when you're not under the jurisdiction of someone who's controlling your income and like how much you make and deciding based on all these rules and all this, this other shit and how long you've been there and whatever, but not on the skill that you actually have. Now there's more ways than ever to highlight those skills you have and profit from them. So there's no cap on how much money you can make. How many different ways can you scale out this skill? And that's what I've been really dialed in on. Like, what am I good at? How many different ways can I do it? And how many people, like, who do I already know that kind of needs it?
Mm-hmm.
And you can really run with it. And like you said, it's the Great Awakening. It's Escape the Matrix. Here's a point I want to make, and I want to know if you agree with it. So we have been living in a space where you have access to every answer pretty much in the world that you could ever want. But the world has been built for the last literally 2,000 years on not having access to all the information in the world. So it's not unreal. Do you think it's unrealistic that a 16-year-old, of high intelligence could have a higher IQ than the people that raised him or the way that they came up? Do you think it's very reasonable that there's a lot of teenagers, that's why there's a lot of mid-20s millionaires that just have figured it out on a higher scale than anyone ever could because of, what's available now?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when I was in Miami, like all these ecom guys were, 18 and bossing in the ecom game. I'm realizing that, like they are financially sound. They know what they're doing. They know how to take a TikTok ad agency and run it up and scale it exponentially. So yeah, to answer that question, yes, I agree with you 100%. And I feel like these young entrepreneurs got it from somewhere, whether that be family or other young entrepreneurs as well. But I do think that the youth is who controls the future. So I find so much comfort in knowing that these individuals are seeing opportunities as this world is drastically changing every day. And,
Yeah.
just uncertainties happen. You know, we see it all the time. But to see these young, but to see the youth continue to do what they do and expand the mind, embrace the chaos, and just absolutely boss it in business makes me happy and brings me a lot of comfort because, like I said, we do control the future, which scares a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think it only scares them because they automatically go to, no, they haven't been here as long as I have, so there's no way they could do this better than anyone that's already tried to do it.
Right.
And my thing is, the only reason we're in the state we're in is because a lot of people knew that they could do it better than who'd already tried to do it. Why do you think we have iPhones? Why do you think we have the internet? Why do you think there's just a million, why do you think people make money now because posting a funny TikTok video? Like, when you say that out loud, it shows you how little it's always like, just everything's kind of really mattered. It's just more about, look, you have a 1 in 400 trillion chance of being here. So if you make the most out of it, you're going to be rewarded of it. But if you follow just what other people are telling you to do and you don't take the time to listen to yourself, you're going to fall in a place where you're not happy. Why would you be happy? You're not doing what you wanted to do. Mm-hmm. You never took the time to figure it out either. And like, there's ways to do that and still maintain what you're already doing. It's an hour, it's an hour a day. It's 10 minutes in the morning. All right. It's 10 minutes in the morning. And we'll dive into that, but let's switch gears quickly to, not quickly, but to college. You're a current junior at Temple University. I want to know your perceived college experience versus now your actual, since you are 2 years in the game. And I think that's a healthy dose of like, you've been able to differentiate,
Yeah. I always saw college as this stepping stone into your professional life. And going into college, the only expectations I had were the ones that were influenced onto me by, older siblings or cousins or friends who went through college. So I went into college thinking that it was just going to be this big party scene and, I was still going to get something out of it, right? So 2 years go by. I realized after my freshman year that at the end of the day, I was actually a little bit worse off. I went back in life. And then sophomore year came around. I felt like I was doing the same thing. And then that's where like the whole personal development came in. And now I'm realizing that 2 years into college is over. And those were like the baby years. And now junior and senior year are the years that, you actually got to wake up. You got to take this seriously and you got to start networking, because that's what I feel like college is, after all, is taking action on everything that's offered to you and doing more than the status quo, which is, go to college, become a good employee. Like, obviously being an entrepreneur in college is extremely difficult, but all the networking you can do, like through clubs like the Entrepreneurial Student Association, where I was just giving a workshop yesterday, which was awesome. Yeah. Like, keep doing stuff like that and networking and taking action on your network. And then next thing you know, you graduate college with the perfect opportunity you ever had, because those past 2 years, you were taking so much action every day.
Yeah, no. And I 100% agree with that. I mean, would you say that they come more naturally the more you put yourself in those situations, or that you just take, I guess you could say it's both ways, but do you get more do you feel like you get more natural opportunities by just putting yourself in this that you didn't expect before you went?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The things in your life, I actually have a quote right behind me. The things I attract into my life are even better than I imagined them to be, because I now have a definite plan. Finally, it took me 2 years into college. I now have a definite plan. As long as I keep taking action on that, things are gonna, work out better than expected, and
it just starts to happen. Cool shit starts to happen.
like the opportunities just show themselves to you, and it's overwhelming at first. But as long as you're meditating, you're reading, you're happy with yourself, then they only get better and better.
That's where I'm glad you made a point of that, because a big point of me even having a podcast is I've always seen a lack in the market of people talking about actually being in the process. There's just a bunch of successful people talking about how they did it, and I get it, and I respect the hell out of it. The reason I'm doing what I'm doing is because of them. At the same time, it's so quick if you just are listening to people that have already made it to pressure yourself into thinking it's going to happen tomorrow. And that's not to knock on negative people. There's a lot of also successful people that consistently listen to those guys. But it's still exposed to the 18 to 24-year-olds where like, we've been adults for 3 years. Like I've been an adult for 3 years. And we're putting all this like, and now, I graduated college a year early. So it's like, I get in the room with people who are like, what do you mean you're not working 5 days a week, 9 to 5 somewhere, like, so the rest of your life is set up? I'm like, because I'm 21 and I could fall on my face at 26 and be totally okay with it because I know how to get back. Like I get like now's the time to test if, just having good intentions and, believing your life is abundant really works. Because when you're 35, if you decide to do that, there's nothing wrong with it. I always say like, you're still very young, but it's harder because you have 34 years of thinking in a different way. I have 2 years of being an adult, 2 years of being an adult, but I've kind of been on this wave since a decent amount of time, whatever. But you get the point.
Simple mindset shift right there.
Right. Like it's simple. And now by me even saying that and, you also understanding it, you get instant, like, it's just like, it helps so many people. And so I'm glad we went there. I don't know where we're at, but anyway, Temple, why Temple?
I love Temple. Since my freshman year of high school, I knew I was going to Temple U. I love that it's an urban school. I love Philly. Okay. Philly's my city. The fact that I can hop on the subway and be there in 5-10 minutes, Center City. And that's why I really enjoyed the summer so much living down here was, having Philly in my backyard. But I love the business school at Temple. I know there's a big stigma, stereotypes about the Fox School business at Temple U. But, like I said, the network you have, especially through
stereotypes, meaning party stereotypes? Just
like preppy business school, or so I've heard. But I've always seen myself as creative, so I never look at myself like that. Yeah. But
people really woke up, they realized business was everywhere anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. I know Temple has a great entrepreneurship program. I'm experiencing it every day now that I'm here and doing that. But it was always a natural thing. My mom went to a branch campus of Temple, and she enjoyed it there. So there was always a little something there. And of course, my older sister just graduated as a nurse. She's 2 years above, so I had her here as well, which was really cool. And most importantly, just being in the city. I feel like it's so different from the Penn State to the Temple University, like being in the suburbs, you could say, and then being in the urban environment. Urban environment breeds opportunity, and you take action.
Right.
Next thing you know, like you're like the kingpin of Philadelphia.
Yeah, because you're in the city, right?
Yeah.
And that's 100% why it wasn't even, dude, I didn't apply to I told my parents I applied to FSU and all these state schools in Florida, and I never applied. I had no shot at getting into UF. I wasn't stressed. I was going out of state or I was going to South Florida. I was like, there's no, my grandma was in West Palm. I understood Miami could be this up and coming thing. I was like, if I'm there, shit'll happen. Right. Didn't happen instantly, but also probably was happening, just not on what I was okay with, right? Because we do that. We're like, nah, it's not what I thought, but it'd only been a year. Now we're 3 years in. Right. So I definitely agree. If you have the opportunity to get in the city, do it, because you're around. It's hard not to be around hustlers, because if you walk outside, there's somebody around you that's trying to get somewhere.
Right.
In my aspect, I'm in Miami and Fort Lauderdale. If I go out to the bars, it's hard to be around people that can't just sling $12 to $15 drinks. They have to be doing something to get in that place. It's not a negative. It's just, we chose to be there. So you have to do something to make sure you can maintain it. And so you meet a lot of creators, entrepreneurs, a lot of people who may have not come there, and you'll probably notice this in the city, to do what they're currently doing. I was kind of in a luxury sales instance where I kind of thought I was gonna be a broker in real estate, but see a nice way in social media to still market and network and grow brands. That was really what I was doing anyway. So, and you meet so many other people that are like, yeah, I've tried the social media thing. It's an online business, whatever, and they try the content production because they can be at the clubs. So it's if you're not around clubs, how are you going to know you want to take pictures at clubs?
Exactly. That's why I love the city, because it's so different from a school that's just out of nowhere in the middle of nowhere.
And how far is that from where you grew up? I'm not super noticeable. I know I'm wearing the Pats shirt, but that's northeast.
I grew up around 30 to 45 minutes north of Philly, so not far at all. It's an easy drive back home if I wanted to go home.
Yeah, Cool. Now, do you want to stay in? Do you have any idea where you're going to be after graduation?
Oh, I don't know. See, that's what I'm saying. 2 years is a lot of time,
Yeah,
but
that's how I think too. So
yeah,
yeah, okay, we'll move on.
definitely Philly for
Yeah,
sure. Um,
definitely.
yeah.
Yeah. Would you agree you could be now? Do you think you could be in a place where it doesn't really matter necessarily where you live? So like you could have like a home base, but you like do you have maybe that's a better question. Do you have aspirations to travel after you graduate, or do you want to like dial in somewhere and then do that stuff a little later?
Europe, Europe,
Europe.
Europe, Europe. I went back in high school. I loved it there. I was in
Yeah.
Spain, Italy,
I'm
Swiss.
thinking I'm thinking spring of next year. I keep telling people, I said spring, summer. But keep me in the loop because I have a cousin who's our age in Amsterdam that'll definitely like he
Oh,
loves we're the same. Yeah, he's
yeah,
super lit. Like
there
I
we
love
go.
him. Yeah, and then my freshman year roommate, I don't mind getting into this because I love David, but he's from the UK. I'm not going to butcher where he's from, like Catterick or something. I think I already said it wrong, so
Okay.
sorry, David. But yeah, he's from the UK. So he's like, yeah, dude, Europe, like, let's go. Let me know who you're with, whatever. So yeah, we'll make it happen. But back to the podcast. I want to would you say there's something you do in your relationships that you think has a positive impact on people? Like, is there anything specific?
How I was raised was that always put people in front of you. You know, one of my principles that's literally right in front of me is love first. You know, always go about every new conversation and situation with love and affection. Love transcends dimensions of time and space. Ever since I watched Interstellar in full and saw that quote from Anne Hathaway, that love transcends
Yeah.
dimensions of time and space, I always thought differently. And every new person I meet, for example, you, I'm just meeting you right now, but I'm very affectionate. I love what you do. And that's really the one thing I take about meeting new people and just continue on with these conversations. Keep that high energy, put a smile on somebody's face. You know, you have everything you need to succeed, but some people might not think that. So change their minds a little bit, be affectionate towards them, you know, show some love and just keep the high energy up.
Yeah, because it comes back to you, and I think that's what the whole point. They're always just like, how do you know it's gonna like happen if you don't put it out there and like show that you're feeling it or thinking it or you know you're grateful for it or whatever. People get so obsessed, and again, this is a show where we're really in the process. I recently have really gotten over this with what it looks like and what it's gonna look like when it comes back to them, or what it's like, what they're gearing. Like if they want to feel us, we're really only obsessed with a feeling. But we think it's supposed to look this way when we reach that goal. But really, it's just going to be how you feel about it. So you can't, like, if you obsess over what it looks like, you're just going to force a bunch of shit. Mm-hmm. There's things I'm feeling in this business that I expected to feel doing a separate type thing. But it's the same concept. The service is still the same. The concept of just growing people, you know, is still the same. Like allowing people to make money, being like in a place of comfort and just like remote, right?
One of the best feelings.
Yeah, it's cool. And you get addicted to anyone, like again, just touching back on the entrepreneurship thing, to creating your own wealth. It's like people are like, oh, why do you work 10 hours a day? Because you don't work. Like you don't feel it. It's like there's different things you can do that are profitable when you're controlling, you know, where it's coming from and who's kind of like you decide that these people are high value people that are going to grow with what you're doing. So you're taking more action on those interactions than something that's not that for you. There's less time for, you know, like the frat bullshit. Like there's less time to talk to those people, you know?
Well said.
Now okay, this is a cool question. Just to kind of, I'm not say wrap it up, but we are getting close to the end. What is the best piece of advice you ever received?
Ooh, everything happens for a reason. I feel
cool.
Every little thing happens for a reason, and it always make you better. Whether that's pod with you, going about my day to day, having a conversation yesterday, everything happens for a reason. You have to realize what reason it's for, and just understand that, embrace it, acknowledge it, and move on with your life. That's the best advice I've ever heard.
Sweet. Now, what are 3 things you think people learn too late?
3 things people learn too late.
Yes.
First and foremost, that just popped in my head was definitely that if you want to live that life, you can live that life. Number 2, you don't need education to be successful. And number 3, your network is your net worth.
Yes, I agree. Okay. And now this one, I have to get a quick shout out because have you heard of the MBH podcast, Money Buys Happiness?
No, I have not.
It's by Full Send. I highly suggest you should check it out. These guys they're active in there, like they're posting and just like they keep up with it. And it's so clear like how grateful they are for the opportunity to work with Nelk. Like they're boys from Canada, like, and they have this podcast called Money Buys Happiness. And a question their whole thing is they ask all their guests, in your opinion, does money buy happiness? So I'm going to give credit to them and relay that to you. Like we've had this conversation and I'm curious, like, does money buy happiness?
To ultimately answer that question, no. I feel like money doesn't buy happiness. Happiness is a choice. Whether you're broke or you're a billionaire, how you feel, the emotions you give off is ultimately your choice. And on the other hand, I feel like money buys time, which is the more important one, because time is crucial. Time to focus on things that make you happy. But no, I don't think money buys happiness. It buys things that make you happy, like time.
Yeah.
I
agree.
But yeah, that's my.
I've always seen that question on the edge of, and I won't answer it because if I'm ever on their show, I'll answer it for real. But I've always seen it agreed on the time, and like I come to freedom. Like, yes, when you have the freedom to think and do that, but at the end of the day, if you choose to be happy with where you're at, things will come. Right.
Right. Right.
Won't really matter. Okay. Now, all right. The last 2. What are 3 questions? And I say 1 to 3 because they can be quick or long, whatever. What are 3 questions you have? Well, hold up. First, I missed one at the top. Okay. First off, what excited you about this opportunity to come on the show? And then we'll get into the last 2.
Wow, man, connect with you. I know I'm going to see you in the next 3 months in Miami. So just to connect with you and pick your brain a little bit. You pick my brain a little bit. Definitely to connect with you and just get your vibe for sure.
Cool. Sick. Okay. Now, what are 3 questions you have for the host?
For the host, this is you, my host, Jack.
Yeah, this is me.
3 questions.
Can be about anything. I leave it absolutely. I just have to answer them. That's what I like to.
I love that.
I like to say.
I love that.
Yeah.
What are you most excited about right now?
Right now, I'm most excited that I'm building Plug Collect. Bringing PLUGtalk back a little earlier than maybe I expected is a big part of that. It's just I see the momentum. I see a community kind of engaging, and it's the first time I have a clear vision, in a sense, at least a structured vision on how I can actually grow people, how I can actually keep people engaged, and obviously perform high quality service for just way less. And like a big thing I always say is just like, and I came to this realization this year. People are paying social media managers 30, 40 grand a year. Great. Good for them. You can get my agency for 10K a year, right? Like $1,000 a month and pretty much automate everything. Like it's very hard and become part of something where you're going to grow anyway, because now you're connected with all the brands that also are involved with us. And that's what I'm most excited about, because it wasn't always this way even 6 months ago. I mean, the name changed, the name changed because Adam22 launched a show called PLUGtalk Show, and we were just a podcast at that time. But now we're a social media brand, and I think it's better than porn stars, in my opinion.
Yeah, I love it. That was a great response. Like question 2 was, what did you have to overcome in your entrepreneurial journey to get you where you are right now?
I had to overcome. This is the first time I've really admitted this, but I had to overcome impatience and imposter syndrome. I had a lot of success at a young age with my first company, and from and I don't like even that. It's just like from 17 to 19, I had this thing that was working, and it was cool, and it got me into a lot of my opportunities in college. As a big selling point that I had sold $100,000 worth of other people's stuff in 2 years, right, and collected a 10 or 20% profit on it. Like, you know, and it was cool. It was just the biggest thing I had to overcome was I just rode that kind of too much. Even when I wasn't taking action towards it, I let it as a buffer for me not to involve with other things, because like I'm so busy with the business, because I was in high school and I was, but then I got to college and I was running track and I was doing these things. So it was imposter syndrome. And now, you know, not taking the time to myself to realize, like, what do you really want and how can you like be the realest version. And I know I was so worried that when I started this kind of like journey that I'd lose that edge that having the business and having all this gave me. The business didn't go anywhere, but my mindset towards it changed, and the whole brand of it kind of started to shift because I started taking action. But I didn't start taking action until I was like started meditating, getting into how to go through that whole thing, being to like kind of realizing that and still not being honest with myself, like still just being like lying and acting like things were happening when they really weren't. So yeah, imposter syndrome for sure.
I like that a lot. That was a great response. What's the one event or day that completely changed your life?
I'd like to say I haven't had it yet, but so far, to answer that question, I would like. Okay, I think this is going to be a unique answer. When the day we had to go home for COVID, and I won't get into too much personal detail because actually, you know, like I said, this is going to be an honest show. So for my instance, just for some background, I was in my freshman year of college. We had just had spring break, so it was just like the most fun time ever. Like, but this freshman year of college, we had 2 hurricanes. Like, we had weeks off of school. I was back home. Oh my gosh, it was just such a very wild, like very freshman free flowing, and I was running track during all this, so it's like very interesting. And I just remember being in study hall one day, and like people are like, "Oh, they're gonna cancel school for like 2 weeks. Like we get to go home." So I'm like, "Okay, whatever. It's cool. I don't have to run this track meet this weekend, thank God." Like this cross country race is like cool. Like we don't have practice, you know. And because of the hurricanes, like we had to stay for practice a lot. So yeah. And it was the day we had to go home for COVID, because when I realized like that was where I was going to be permanently, like you just kind of, I don't know, I missed my friends and stuff, but I was also coming off of like a breakup and like one of my first like more real relationships, I'd say. And it didn't end anything negative. Like it's still, it was amicable. Like it wasn't like that part of it. It was just kind of like that you lost that, and then you didn't know why really, because like we said, nothing negative really happened. And then you have this, like now all your friends and your track first year, we were just about to start the track season. I was recruited for cross country and track, but I always loved track. So I was like ready to compete and really show what I could do, like short distance and stuff. And yeah, you trained all year or whatever. So now you're home, but the reason I'm glad, like, it's almost like, why am I, like, I'm not saying I'm glad COVID happened. It was a terrible thing, but I'm saying the fact that I had to be separated the day I had to get separated from the school environment. Like you had to be with yourself, you know? So yeah, I'd say that day, early March, is probably when all this kind of went. It led me into having a very fun, like sophomore year, and like I just went to the gym and was working out at home, like everything. And then I rode that high and got to have another little low where like the residual fell off, right? And now I'm dialed into this place where I haven't been in ever. I always say I haven't been, like I really haven't been here ever, just 15 months or more, you know, locked in, knowing exactly what day it is and what I'm doing. Like it's cool, and I knew I was going to get addicted to it, but now it's more fun because, and I want to just make this point, you realize how much time you really have. I still am having just as much fun I was having. It's just from 10 a.m. to 5 o'clock. Like I don't need to talk to anyone. Like this is my, you know, this is what we do. So that was good, man. Those are good 3 questions. And then, all right, man, plug us in. You know, where can we connect with you? Obviously this is PLUGtalk, Plug Collect. Everyone's I know a lot of accounts that literally follow me and they just look for everyone that I shout out, and they some of them probably followed you yesterday. Yeah, I can think exactly who it was. So, yeah, plug us in, man. Where can we find you? And what are you most excited about right now?
Yeah, sure. We can definitely reach me on Instagram at Evan Senior. What I'm excited about right now is just doing more things like this, networking and being very present, staying humble, staying grateful for, wow, like everything, and just seeing what the future has in store, for sure.
Cool, man. All right, brother. That was sick. That was a sick episode.